I'm sitting here with Roy Silverstein, who is not only the founder and owner of Rarefied Recording, but also its chief engineer. Roy, Rarefied Recording is probably one of the most well-appointed studios in California, and by far my favorite. There's just something about coming here that just makes me happy. I mean, I know everything's going to be working when I get here. The acoustics are incredible. The vibe is incredible. It's aesthetic. I mean, you got this whole orange motif going on with like the couch and the coasters and the kitchen towels.
Thanks for noticing the little details.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a place that I want to come and stay and not leave. I'm a little envious. Why don't you tell me a little bit about its inception? Like, how long did you have this idea? Where did it come from? I mean, tell me about the studio.
Yeah, well, I've been into recording for a long time. I got into it when I was a teenager. But back in Chicago, I was playing music with my friends.
Yeah.
In the basement, got a 4-track, figured it out.
Was it the cassette one?
Yeah, cassette 4-track. That's where I started. Just got hooked on recording. And always was doing it kind of on the side because I pursued a career in electrical engineering with an audio kind of bent to it. But I kept doing recording on the side, and I was doing stuff at this house I had in Golden Hill for a while that I was renting, called The Habitat.
I think I played a show there.
Maybe.
Like years ago when I first moved here.
I used to do house shows at The Habitat.
Yeah.
So I had a setup there with, we had a big living room. That was like the live room, and then a little bedroom that was the control room. So, I was building up my gear and my skills, and it got to a point where it was like, okay, like, the next thing I need is like a better space.
Right.
To do recording in, because I was right on Broadway, lots of buses and stuff going by.
Yeah.
And that was a problem.
So you went from like 0 to 60 though, because you went from like renting a house with a corner full of gear to like this incredible studio.
Yeah, I guess I have a way of just doing things right when I want to do them.
Did you have any help? I mean, did you design this place yourself?
No. So I hired this guy, Wes Lachaux,
Okay.
to do the studio design. He's a really well-known studio designer. He's designed studios all over the world. So he really designed this place with, of course, a lot of input from me.
Right.
But he's the genius behind the acoustics and everything in here.
It's very symmetrical in here. Is that a Wes Lachaux signature design, or was that something that you kind of had in your brain?
No, I think it's very important to the way Wes does his studios.
Yeah.
Especially the control room. There's got to be like absolute symmetry to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so the stereo balance is perfect.
Yeah, that's kind of how my brain works too. Like I can't, if something's off balance, like my whole thing is off balance. I love symmetry. And it also like the use of space, not only in the control room here, but in the live room, because it's not a huge live room, but the acoustics are. I mean, you could find sweet spots in there that really embiggen the place, you know. And it was that part of his design?
Yeah, I mean, the whole place was him, but I think as far as the live room goes, like, we didn't have a huge room, right? So you're not gonna be able to get like a big drum sound just from having a big space.
Right. I beg to differ, by the way, but more on that later.
Yes, but you want a space that's well controlled, I think.
Yeah.
Is what it plays best to. So when you go in there, you'll notice that it's like everywhere you go in that room sounds good. And it's not like there's like, oh, you have to do the drums over here or something like that. Like you can kind of set up wherever, and it all works. So it's weird because it's actually kind of a rectangular room, which most studios you look at have like really non-parallel walls, but whatever Wes did works perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge room, but as I said, like I've engineered here a couple of times, and I've a bunch of times actually, and I've found you could find the magic little sweet spots to stick the mics that kind of make the room sound a lot bigger, which is really cool in a small space.
There's definitely ways to put up the mics such that they're getting more of the ambience, and then you're compressing that and kind of bringing it up.
And as a singer too, I like to work the room, and I mean, I've put the mic in the middle of the room there and have run around the room finding different spots to sing from, and it really is nice. I've been involved here at Rarefied with a number of sessions, not only as engineer and producer, but also as a musician and an artist. I mean, I'm cutting my own record here.
Yep.
I was actually here last night until 1 o'clock in the
That is
morning,
true.
which is why I'm so fresh faced today. But you not only do you own this place, you're the chief engineer here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you cold call Rarefied and you don't have another engineer you want to work with, I'm your guy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, like I said, into recording for a long time, so I kind of know what I'm doing. And yeah, it's great. I've been gotten to work with a lot of cool people.
Is there a big like variety of music and artists that come here? Do you get a lot of the same things? Do you get a lot of different things?
There's a big variety as overall, and I'm not like the guy that will do like any old thing, like because I'm
Right.
not really great at like really heavy rock. Like there's a guy Daniel Castleman that he's really good at anything like heavy metal or that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So am I, by the way.
Oh, cool. Um, and then I'm not like really good at hip hop. So there's this guy like Justin Truelove that
Yeah.
he does like almost all the hip hop here. But like a lot of stuff that's just, various types of not so heavy rock, singer songwriter stuff,
Yeah.
even jazz kind of stuff. I'm totally down to do. So yeah, I've worked with Stephen Ray has been a project I really enjoyed working
cool.
on. You know him.
Yeah, I dig him.
Yeah, he plays the upright bass in the Cashed Out Johnny Cash cover
Yeah.
band, but he has his own original songs.
Yeah, we should get him on the show.
Yeah, he's great. That was one of my favorite projects that I did. I recently worked with Bighorn Run. They're like a kind of classic rock kind of sounding band.
Yeah.
When San Diego City Beat did their demo review, they got mentioned as like one to watch. So yeah, I've gotten to work with some really cool bands.
Do you work with these bands like as a producer also? Do you get to like put your creative input into it?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I wasn't formally hired to produce either of those groups, but certainly when I'm in the moment, like
Yeah.
with Bighorn Run, it'd be like, okay, like how about you try this tape delay that I have like on
Yeah.
this part or this phaser or something like that because I just heard something and they're like, yeah, let's do it,
Yeah.
So like little things like that. And then when I'm mixing, sometimes it's like I do something, something
Yeah.
on the mix, some distortion on the vocal or something that wasn't part of the original recording, but it's kind of producery type of thing. And either they like it or they don't. And usually they like it. So
What percentage? I mean, if you could put a number to it, like what percentage of artists that come in are San Diego local artists that have a name around town versus? I mean, do you get a lot of people coming in from out of town? Do you get a lot of LA bands coming down, or?
right. Yeah, it's probably 95% San Diego stuff,
Yeah.
I think. There's been some LA bands. I worked a little bit with this band called Bouquet. And there was a band called Nightgown, I think it was. They came down, and there's also been a band from Costa Rica that came.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Las Robertas. Their album's coming out really soon.
Yeah.
Um,
What kind of music was that?
like kind of psychedelic rock.
Nice.
And the engineer was John Green, who does some. He had a studio called Electric Orange for a while.
Oh, nice.
In town, but now he's kind of closed that down and just works here or other places.
All the orange things in here, you could be electric.
I know. It kind of fits perfectly.
It's an interesting time for not just the music industry, but more specifically the recording studio industry. I mean, you opened up a studio bravely, I might add, at a time when, studios across the world are closing, and all the big, New York, London, LA, all the major studios they don't have clientele anymore. It's because everybody's building stuff in their bedroom.
Right.
And I mean, how have you managed to keep this place open and flourishing in a time when we don't know what's going to be happening in the next 5 years?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's definitely a concern. I think the key is having like a low overhead. So like everything in here is already paid for. I didn't like take out a bunch of loans or anything like that.
That's smart.
And I'm the only employee.
Ah,
So I do the books. I do
Yeah.
the scheduling. I do the maintenance. I do the cleaning.
yeah.
So I'm busy.
I clean
But,
up after my
well,
sessions.
that's very
I'll wipe
helpful.
the counter, take
Thank
the
you.
garbage out.
Yeah, we try to like do that with all. There's a lot of different freelancers that work
Yeah.
here, so
Myself
like,
included.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to get people to clean up after themselves and
Yeah.
like be part of that, so to keep the rates low. And so yeah, that's like the biggest thing. And the other thing is like realizing that musicians have a very small budget to work with, and pricing things so that your average musician can actually come in here.
Yeah, it's very fairly competitive here, which
Yeah.
I noticed. Which also, I also noticed your schedule is nearly almost always full.
Yeah,
which is
usually.
frustrating. But I mean, I'm happy for you too. You know,
Thank you.
one of the other things I love about Rarefied is the seamless marriage between the analog world and the digital world. I mean, you have that fantastic tape machine back there,
Right.
which is my personal favorite tape machine to work on. You have this great analog console, which is based on my personal favorite, the Trident 80B. This is a more updated version of it. And then you have all the modern digital audio workstations with the computers and
Right.
Pro Tools, and everything speaks to everybody speaks to each other so seamlessly here.
Right.
Was that kind of part of your original concept, part of your original design, was to get the analog and the digital worlds to work together?
Definitely. I mean, I think that you want to use both of those worlds together, because digital obviously has some huge advantages as far as editing goes and that sort of thing. But analog has still the best sound, in my opinion. So that's why here there's a lot of great, mic preamps and compressors and EQs that are all analog, plus the board and the option of the tape machine.
Right.
And it's all connected in such a way that it's very easy to use everything together.
Do you get a lot of bands that come in here that still want to use the tape machine?
Not a lot, actually. Hoping for more.
Isn't it nice, though, when you get to run a session on tape and turn off the computer screen?
It is really completely different experience.
Yeah.
Because we're such visual creatures.
Yeah.
That as soon as there's a screen in front of you, like a lot of your attention gets taken by the screen, right?
Absolutely.
So like actually being able to shut that off lets you just listen and just use those ears fully. So,
I definitely find that when I'm working on the computer in Pro Tools or a similar program, that I'm looking at my music and not listening to it. And it takes some getting used to, even when you are working in the computer, to be able to shut that part of your brain off and just close your eyes and listen. Totally. And when you're working on tape, that's not an issue whatsoever. You know?
Yeah. So sometimes when I'm mixing, I'll turn off the computer screen when I can, and just do some stuff on the board with the screen off and keep the lights real low and get the vibe going.
So you want to geek out on some gear?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, give me your like 2 favorite pieces of gear on this outboard rack here.
Okay. Well, I think you got to mention these Pultec equalizers. I mean, they're the reissue of the Pultecs, but I mean, they basically sound like what an old Pultec would have sounded like. They just sound so sweet. I mean, sometimes you don't even have to like do anything with them. Just run your signal through them and you'll like pick up a little extra something. But I love that 100 hertz on there, boosting that a little bit. Cutting 20 kilohertz sometimes is nice because sometimes music just has too much top end and you want to give it a little of that analog thing,
What do you like to use it on?
Literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works on everything. Huh?
Yeah.
Do you ever put the 2 of them together and use them on like your master fader?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
I said master fader.
Well, master bus.
Master bus.
Yeah, the stereo bus. The whole mix, basically. Yeah, I'll put it on the whole mix when I'm mixing. And like 30 hertz boosted just a little bit for some reason to me sounds like really good. Just opens up the bottom end.
Yeah.
Totally.
I like that down there. That's the 350, right? Ampex
350, yeah. So that came out of an old tape machine.
Yeah.
And is converted to just be a mic preamp. That's a great piece too. Has huge headroom.
And really big knobs.
Yeah. There's only one that does anything. But yes. Yeah, so that's a great piece. I'm pretty fond of this Neve compressor here, the 33609. I know you like that too.
I do.
Yeah, I love it on drums, like the whole drum bus.
Yeah.
And it just has a great sound to it.
Why don't you show us the coolest little trick you got here?
Okay. Check this out.
This is Captain to the Bridge.
These speakers just rise up out of nowhere.
I love that.
They're on motorized stands by Sound. I think they're called Sound Anchors. So those are the little near fields we got here. They're Neumann KH310 speakers. But behind them are the big Dyne Audio speakers that are actually like truly the main speakers in the studio. They're not just for show. The way that Wes designs his studios, like you're literally meant to use that as your main speaker.
Yeah, I find that when I'm mixing in here, I normally don't use the mains because that's, like you say, they're for show. They're kind of, I always call them like impress the client speakers, but they're really clear here, and they're actually pretty good to mix on. And it's nice to have. I mean, you have a whole variety of speakers. You know, when you're mixing, you want to hear your music on different sources to make sure it sounds good on everything. It sounds good if it sounds good on one set of speakers, but not on the other. You have some things to fix. So you have the big speakers in the wall. You have what are called your near fields, which are your close mixing speakers, and then you have these little guys, which are kind of meant to replicate like a low quality boom box, and then you even have like laptop computer speakers and stuff to listen through. And if your mix sounds good across the board, you're in good shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Roy, I want to thank you again for having us.
Hey, no problem.
And thanks for allowing us to use Rarefied to shoot our very first episode.
Well, thank you.
Where can we find you online?
I got a website, www.rarefiedrecording.com, on Twitter at rarefiedrec, R-A-C, on Instagram at Rarefied Recording, and Facebook, Rarefied Recording. I'm sure if you search that, you'll find it. They're also actually on YouTube. I just put up a whole long studio tour. So if you look for Rarefied Recording on YouTube, that would be something to look for.
Cool. Well, thanks again for having us. This is my favorite studio and one of the things that's really keeping me here in San Diego.
Awesome.